thanks for coming. My name is Rachel Cope. I'm the CEO and founder of 84 Hospitality Group located in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. This seminar is entitled Third Party Delivery, so you know if you're in the right place or not. And a lot of what I'm going to be speaking about today is just through my own experience. I don't know everything. There's so much information out there. I'm going to try to give you the tools that we've used, that we've seen be successful for us, some things that have not been really great for us, throw some numbers out there, but also encourage you to please do your own research as the information is constantly changing and there is quite a lot. A little background on myself and my company. No family in the restaurant business. I don't really know how I got into that. I was an athlete for all of my life, and maybe the natural competitiveness of the restaurant industry fit the kind of person that I am. In 2012, I had been working in the restaurant industry since I was about 18 years old. I've been working in the industry for 16 years at this point. And in 2012, after working for a bunch of different independent restaurant groups in the city and also in Tulsa, I decided that I was going to partner up with one of my good friends and pitch an idea for a contest in an artsy district of Oklahoma City for a restaurant space. We lost. We pitched a European cafe idea in Oklahoma City, so you can imagine that went over great. Also, neither one of us had ever been to Europe, so I don't know what the hell we were thinking. But through that, we did some traveling and just kept brainstorming, just kept thinking, okay, what could we do that would work in Oklahoma City? Pizza. Pizza works everywhere. Problem was, we didn't know how to make pizza. About a month after we'd been told that we lost the contest, we got a phone call back saying, couldn't come to terms with the other person that had won the contest. Do you have any other ideas, though? Because that first one was terrible. And I said, pizza. And in about February of that year, November of 2012, I flew to Tony Gimignani's International School of Pizza in San Francisco. I am not a chef, but I wanted to know everything about that and trusted really only myself to go figure it out. And graduated from his New York style, American style pizzeria class, came back and told my partner who was the chef, hey, I know how to make pizza now, I think. Well, in 2018, Pizza Today actually recognized Empire Slice House as the independent pizzeria of the year, which I guess we figured out how to make some pizza. So after about 2 years of Empire being opened, our volume was just getting to be so much that we almost couldn't even take to-go orders anymore. We were literally just unplugging the phones, which is a great problem to have, but if you're like me, you hate seeing those sales just not be taken advantage of. We came up with this kind of crazy idea. There was a space about 2 doors down that was becoming available for lease, and we decided that we were just going to build a to-go shop. If you've ever seen Home Slice Pizzeria in Austin, which I'm a huge fan of, they also kind of adopted that model, which is they have Home Slice 2 just across the street. More Home Slice. Are you the Home Slice guy? Hey, how are you? Big fan. Nice to see you. So we created Easy E Slice Shop. I'll come back to more about that later. But that is really where we first started using a third-party delivery service. So now that you have some background. All right. Raise your hand if you ever ordered from a third-party delivery service. I imagine almost everyone. How about this? Raise your hand if you never have ordered from a third-party delivery service. Man, congrats. The 4 major players seem to be Postmates, Uber Eats, Grubhub, and DoorDash. They're all a little bit different, but they're all a little bit the same. So really throughout this, you're going to need to, again, do some of your own research to figure out what best fits for you. What I have found is that in different regions of the United States, that some are more popular than others. For example, in Oklahoma City, no one really uses Grubhub or Uber Eats. I didn't have a lot of information to really pull from my own experience because I haven't really had that much. But I was able to stop by the Uber Eats booth here. They're here. Also, DoorDash is here in some capacity as well. So you guys can stop by and speak to them. Who is using third-party delivery? Well, by your show of hands, it seems like everyone. The percentage of each age group that have used the multi-restaurant delivery website or app in the past 90 days, they were looking at 63% of people ages 18 to 29, 51% of people ages 30 to 44, 29% of people ages 45 to 60, and 14% of users were over the age of 60. What's in it for the customer? Well, you are the customer sometimes, so you know the answer to this. The easiest one-word answer is convenience. In high-density areas, it's much easier. I have found personally to order from third-party delivery service rather than try to fight traffic to go get it yourself during most peak times. Also, if you've got kids, you know what that's like to try to be taking care of everything you need to be taken care of at home and get food there for your family. Studies have shown that customers are more than willing to spend the substantial delivery fees in order to not have to stop what they're doing and have restaurant quality food and the comforts of their own home, office, etc. Really, with the click and swipe of any of these apps, you have access to thousands of restaurants at a time. It's really incredible, and it just continues to grow. What's in it for the merchant? Really, three things stand out. One, it allows you to expand your footprint. Third-party delivery gives you access to a market that you may have that may have not previously existed for your restaurant. For Empire and the location that we're in, and also probably for the Home Slice crew, I know they probably fight the same issues of parking. There really isn't any in the district that we are in. I meet people all the time who say they'd love to come eat with us but hate fighting for parking. Third-party delivery allows us to reach those guests as well as others who may not have known who we even were until they saw us on their favorite third-party delivery app. Increased visibility and marketing with a customized page for your restaurant. For those who have never had an in-house delivery service or don't have the means for your own proprietary app, now you have the ability to be seen by thousands of customers. The inevitable increase in sales. There is no doubt in my mind that you will see an increase in sales, but it's really important to ask yourself if you're really ready for that. With the increase of sales comes the increase of expense. Labor additions to keep up with new volume, possible increase in cost of goods for disposable items built for to-go delivery service. For us personally, the expense additions are greatly outweighed by the sales increase. So really, it seems like the key to that is just volume. You've already got the staff that's working. You've already got your fixed costs for the space. There's also the idea that third-party delivery sales will cannibalize your dine-in business for full service and fast casual restaurants. Though there may be some truth to that statement, it seems the cost of doing third-party delivery can be less than staffing a full crew for dine-in service, as we are kind of finding between our full-service style restaurant, Empire Slice House, and Easy E Slice Shop. I mean, just the actual net profit percentages are pretty staggering, the difference between the two. I think the Slice Shop actually operates at about a 22% net profit, whereas Empire Slice House is somewhere closer to 10 to 15, depending on the weather most of the time. The restaurants who seem to be struggling with third-party delivery are older establishments who have been serving guests a certain way for many years, whereas new restaurants come out of the gate with a plan of action for third-party delivery execution clearly in mind. Lucky for us pizza people, we've always had some form of to-go or delivery in play. It's part of the pizzeria operating mindset. If you're not doing it, I would definitely recommend looking into that. Which third-party delivery company is best for me? Going back to speaking about the four largest delivery companies, Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Postmates in that order, this little graph here kind of shows you what's been happening over time. Postmates seems to kind of be staying the course. They're also the only third-party delivery company that delivers items other than food. DoorDash seems to be kind of on the up and up recently. I noticed that they've been reinvesting quite a bit of money to purchase some of these smaller companies that are out there, as well as working on improving their apps. Uber Eats, right there with it. Grubhub was the original, kind of the OG of the third-party delivery world. I've read some different things. I've heard that it actually started in the late 90s, and then I read somewhere else 2004, so it's been around quite a bit longer than the rest of the crew. I was kind of surprised to not see them have a booth here. Would have loved to speak to them, as that's one that I'm not super familiar with. How does it work? I got out of order. After you've done some research to find which third-party delivery platform is most used in your area, it's time to sign up. Though there are differences amongst the leading apps, they all are similar in the way that they function for the customer and the merchant. The easiest way to get started is to visit their website. If you haven't been contacted directly by someone, which often will happen if you've got customers in your area who are asking for you to be on an app, they sometimes will reach out to that third-party delivery service and request that they try and get you on it. Each offers a simple sign me up form where you input your basic information and then wait for a representative to contact you to negotiate your rate, super important, and answer any questions that you may have. Once your registration is complete, the next step is to upload your menu and pricing to the platform. What's really nice that's changed recently is that you're able to edit your own menus at any time, whereas in the beginning it was having to be outsourced to the app and waiting for them to go ahead and take care of that for you. So now it's whenever you need to change it, you change it. Some things to know. At the end of each week, you'll receive a summary email from your third-party delivery company showing you the total number of orders, averages, and a breakdown of total revenue minus commission fees with your total payout. The payout is directly deposited into your business bank account, super simple. There are no contracts with any of these 4 major players that I'm speaking about. Uber Eats does require a $350 activation fee, but when I stopped by their booth earlier, they actually let me know that they're waiving that during the expo if you go visit them here, so that was nice. The other thing to know is that after you are signed up, they will send you a tablet. If you're struggling to keep up with volume during a shift, you can turn off your third-party delivery software, which will make your restaurant show as unavailable to the customer, but you can turn it back on at any time, which we find pretty helpful when we're dealing with a lot of dine-in business during high volume times. That was a super quick summary. There's a lot more to it, but most of it's just getting in there and trying it, figuring it out for yourself. It's super simple to work with. This is an example of a DoorDash payout summary that you would see. The dashboards for the 2 that we've used, Postmates and DoorDash, it's got some pretty good information in there. It's nice to see what's moving, what's not moving. Your average number of, your orders for that week shows you the percentage increase or decrease from the week before. Average order amount as well. Unique customers and net sales. There is something that we wish was included, which none of the apps seem to be really sharing much of the information about the customer. Where are they ordering from? Where are they? Where is my customer? And that would be really nice. But so far, we're not seeing any type of information that lets us know that. Can you handle the volume efficiently? Aside from the expenses, are you really ready to efficiently handle the volume from a functionality standpoint? This affects not only the customer, but also our employees. I'm just going to use Empire and Eazy-E as an example here. It's important to know that Empire, I think, was doing about $3.4 million a year out of a 2,900 square foot space in the middle of Oklahoma City, with 2 deck ovens and 1 induction burner as our only methods of cooking anything. Our hours of operation are also from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. We were trying to kind of corner the late night service market, which really didn't exist a few years ago when we opened. We ran to-go orders through our bar staff. They seemed to be standing around, the only people who could really have the time to handle that. When we were doing about $25,000 to $30,000 a week in sales, it was no big deal to execute that way. But in 2015, we were dealing with such an increased dine-in volume and call-in order that our sales had escalated to about $50,000 to $55,000 a week, sometimes more, that we ended up creating a designated to-go pickup area near the front of the restaurant with its own staff and order terminal. That worked for about a year and a half or so, and then we were just getting clogged up at the front. We were causing our dine-in customers to have to wait after they've already been waiting for an hour to sit down, and now they've got to wait because a to-go order is being picked up. It just didn't seem right. Again, it didn't seem right telling the to-go orders no either. So we had a dilemma. And in mid-2016, when things really started kind of getting out of hand with all that, that's when we were starting to search for a solution, which ended up becoming Eazy-E Slice Shop. The Slice Shop handles all of our to-go orders and all of our catering, but for some dumb reason, again, I put only 2 ovens in that spot because it was only 200 feet from our other restaurant, so there was no way the volume was still going to be too much. But it is still too much. I have jokingly said the only way to really help Eazy-E function better is to build another Eazy-E somewhere in the city or multiple versions of. It's a great problem to have, but it is still a problem because it hurts the guests, and that's my number one concern. When we moved to Eazy-E, that's whenever about 6 months after we opened, we first started using Postmates. Postmates is the most popular app used in our area. About 8 months ago, we also started using DoorDash, so we are using multiple platforms. The sales from Postmates to DoorDash are about 4 to 1. You may need to consider remodeling or reconfiguring your existing space to accommodate for third-party delivery. That's something I've been reading a lot about lately. Is you're looking at some of these major brands like McDonald's, Chipotle. Chipotle really saved its own ass by creating this really easy-to-use app. And now I've been reading that 10% of all their sales are actually digital orders. They've reworked their make line so that there is still the make line if you've ever dined in one where you're walking through and they're making your burrito in front of you, but there's also another make line in the back that's just kicking out these delivery orders. McDonald's is also retrofitting 14,000 stores across the U.S. with courier pickup stations as to not clog the traditional lines for dining at the counter. I don't know if you've experienced this or seen this too, but it's something to keep in mind. I don't know, if you go to Starbucks, the mobile ordering line is getting a little out of control. In fact, if you're going in there to order a coffee and you see the line out the door, you almost don't go in at all. So designing your store with third-party delivery in mind. Whether you're building a store for the first time or duplicating for the 15th, if you haven't considered the equipment and layout to accommodate third-party delivery, you should. Our first model of Empire Slice House was built a few years before this really even became a thing. As I mentioned, it had just the one stack of Baker's Pride ovens, tiny make line, tiny kitchen. The amount of volume they were able to do out of there was just absolutely incredible. And I speak about that space because actually about in September of last year, we built a new Empire Slice House, which was the building you saw in the first slide that was up here. About 3 doors down from the original, and got a chance to kind of try to go back and fix some of these mistakes that we had made. But we're still using the to-go shop as our to-go service spot. I'm telling you those things because we are still figuring this out ourselves as everything continues to change, and it's going to keep changing, and we're going to have to keep adjusting. We're laying out a new empire for a city that's not in Oklahoma City currently, and honestly, while I was researching for this, I started rethinking my layout again. Because the city that we're going to, I don't have an Easy E slice shop next door, nor do I have the infrastructure in that city to go ahead and just open one. I got to do the dine-in place first. That's our brand. So how do I start planning for the third-party delivery pickup there so that we can also grab those sales? I'll tell you one thing for sure. I'm going to have 4 ovens this time. I know that. Maybe 6. I haven't really quite decided yet. Things to consider. Again, with pizza, number of ovens. How many pies do you think you'll need to kick out every hour? How long do they take to cook? How many can you fit at a time? These are things that we're just digging into, again, constantly. How do we go faster? How do we keep our quality the same or better? Designate an area for pickup. I mentioned the Starbucks issue that they kind of have. Chipotle actually created these little shelves where they're putting the bags on the shelf and you walk in and just pick up the one with your name on it. I imagine all that technology will continue to change. I've seen even these crazy shelf units that you set the bag on and it, in an LED screen, lights up the person's name that's on the order. Technology is wild. We actually struggle with that a little bit at the slice shop because we created one window. And that window is servicing quick service dine-in slices. It's also servicing the call-in to-go orders. It's servicing people walking in, placing to-go orders. It's also doing 25% of its sales in third-party delivery. And it's a little bit irritating when I walk in. I'm frustrated at myself because I'm standing there looking at this going, this guest is waiting because we're punching in an order or the tablets are constantly, going off, and there's just that one window for pickup. So when we do build another Easy E slice shop, I will definitely have a separate window for the pickups and orders, which I probably should have done in the beginning, but I didn't know what I was doing. And sometimes still don't. Warming cabinets and shelving to hold all call-in, walk-in, and third-party delivery orders. We actually recently just added a second warmer at Easy E because we were getting so stacked up. One of the things that's a little bit difficult to deal with these drivers is that they're, as soon as the pie's done, it's not like they're just taking it immediately. We're holding these pies. We're holding the walk-in, call-in, all the to-go order pies, and it just wasn't enough space. So definitely be thinking about that as you're designing your store. Another thing that would be super helpful, and we were able to do this at Easy E, was to designate parking spaces for pickup. Other cooking equipment you may need for your high volume items. For example, if you sell a ton of fried mozzarella, consider you'll probably sell 2 to 3 times as many when you have this, especially with appetizers, I feel like, because I don't know when you guys order, but I know when I order from an app, I order way too much. Anybody else do that? Every time. In fact, the studies are saying that people who are ordering from an app rather than calling in or walking in and placing an order, their check averages are double what they're spending, versus them walking in or calling in and placing an order. And I can't decide if that's just like the pressure of standing there and people are waiting behind you and you're just trying to hurry, or you don't want them to see your face when you order 5 appetizers and 2 salads and you're just one person, and it's fine. Plenty of space for storing disposables needed for packaging your products. I can't tell you how many times I've had to ask my dad to come put up another shelf for all the boxes that we need. Packaging also becomes super important. We're starting to think about that as well. Sometimes these pizzas or food is sitting there, how long has it been finished? I know that's something we really worried about. In fact, it is something that you should give a lot of thought to, especially for creating a new brand, a new restaurant. Third-party delivery might not be for you in the beginning. Maybe you want your first experience for a guest to be fresh out of the oven. I remember working at a pizza place a while ago that had a lot of issues with that, would not let people take stuff to go, did not take to-go orders, and it really pissed a lot of people off. But that was, I understand why they were doing it. We actually have a ramen shop, and we do not do to-go orders there. But that's something that you definitely need to be thinking about if you're creating a new restaurant, is that the drivers, they work for the company. They're not representing your brand. You know, how are they interacting with the guest? A lot of that I really liked to do in person. And we were fortunate enough to be able to create our brand and the strength of our brand before third-party delivery really came into our life. There's a little photo here. You can see this is the photo, the larger of the two is the interior of Empire Slice House. And then that little to-go window there is the silly little window that we kick everything out of instead of having to. Though I have thought, Dad, maybe we can just sledgehammer one more. Think about it. I'm serious. This is super important. Creating a delivery-friendly menu. Between Empire and Eazy-E last year, we sold more than 500,000 slices. I probably gave away another 25 on top of that for donations, or that's not counting the ones we're voiding. But even when we were boxing up these slices for to go, they're just sitting there and they're just sweating to death. And the quality is just every second just decreasing. And whenever we decided to start using a delivery company, we said, we're not doing slices. Also, can you imagine how many boxes we would have stacked in the windows of slices? So much room for error, grabbing the wrong one. It just seemed to be not our thing, and people did not like that in the beginning. But if you set your tone from the start with your guests and they know what to expect, then that's the way you do it. Our menu is really simple. Again, I kind of mentioned earlier, like, we don't have any fryers or apps. There maybe are 6. We have 3 salads. We have about 20 different whole pie options. And of course, people all the time want us to add different pies or more ingredients. But I have found that really our model is to just keep it simple. I would definitely recommend that as you're creating your restaurant or looking at doing third-party delivery. It leaves a lot less room for error and helps you focus on the items that you really do move a lot of. One of the guys from Uber Eats earlier told me something pretty interesting, which I guess their analytics on the back end are a little bit different in a good way from the ones that we've had experience with. They show you all your menu items, and they show you what's moving, what's not moving. And he had mentioned that he had a Japanese restaurant in San Diego that was selling a ton of items that had tuna, but not a lot of items with salmon. And so the guy just went in and created like 10 more tuna dishes and sold, I guess, a lot more of the items than he was selling before, just because they had more options of something that was already popular. This is the part that stings a little bit. Depending on the weight of your brand, you may find yourself stuck dishing out anywhere from 20 to 30% of third-party sales to those companies. Sounds like a lot, kind of. The 30% is the high end of everything that we've seen. I haven't seen anything much lower than about 22. That's just with the people that we work with and around who are willing to share that information with us. But restaurants run with tight margins. We take everything into consideration. I'm sitting there counting how many towels did I give so-and-so and, calling and threatening to cancel my cable every few months just to get a better rate and that kind of stuff. And you take that and then you're thinking 30% of the $20 pie that I just sold is being given away, but it's about volume. The labor and fixed costs, rent, utilities, etc., are already there. No matter if you use a third-party delivery platform or not, if your target food cost is between 25 and 30%, and your third-party delivery cost is the high-end 30%, it still leaves you with 40% to play with for labor, etc. And if you can't make that work, you might have some other problems that need to be addressed. Another fix that some restaurants have adopted, but isn't great for the customer, I feel like, is to add additional fees into your pricing. We have not done that yet. Hopefully we don't, but that is another way of helping with that cost if you feel like it's too much for you. Also take into consideration the boosted marketing visibility from the third-party delivery platform, new customers reached, and creating sales without taking up valuable seats inside your restaurant. Another thing that's really important is, does anybody here have a pizzeria where you actually have your own delivery vehicles? Anybody? We haven't done that before. Actually, the delivery drivers are me, Stephen, Britton, Dad, sister sometimes. And we actually still deliver all of our own catering orders. But when I really was trying to figure out how to capture that delivery business, maybe even before the third-party conversation started, I started looking at the cost of, God, just buying the vehicles, maintaining the vehicles, paying the drivers. What do they do whenever it's slow? You've got one driver, but you've got 10 orders. How do you do that? I actually might talk to some of you who are doing that if it's working well for you, because I'm real curious. But the third-party delivery takes that out of the equation. They have their own cars. They take care of everything. And to me, that is worth the percentage that we're paying for those sales. Last year, third-party delivery services added $250,000 to Easy sales. It's hard to say no to that. I would kill for that at my Mexican restaurant, but hasn't quite happened yet. Should I use multiple platforms? If you're an independent restaurant or operating with only a few locations, you may find that using multiple third-party delivery companies is your best bet to cast the widest net for customers. That's what we're currently doing at the to-go shop. We also do it at the Mexican restaurant that we have. I mentioned earlier that it looks like for us, the Postmates were 4-1, but the DoorDash is still enough to justify keeping it. After talking to the Uber Eats guy, it sounds like I might be into trying that one as well. But with all that, now you've got 3 tablets in the window. You've got 2 staff people. How are you doing that? It opens up a lot of room for confusion, again, mistakes to be made. I met some pretty cool guys here earlier from Chowli, which they have a booth here, and they kind of blew my mind. And actually, when I started speaking to them, I said, why didn't I think of that? Which is they are working with some of the major third-party delivery companies to integrate into your point-of-sale software so that you no longer have to have those tablets, which I thought was pretty cool. I told him to tell me what he thought was bad about it, but he said, of course, that everything is perfect and there are no problems, but there's got to be something. I'm going to figure it out. The thing to keep in mind is that it can get difficult to keep up with all that. Now, if you're operating a chain or have substantial numbers of locations, you may be better off throwing the weight of your brand at a single third-party delivery company and really trying to negotiate that rate down even further. Do your own research by calling and speaking with representatives from the companies you'd most like to use and see who comes out on top. It's important to remember that they need you too. Don't forget that. Especially if you are a brand that their users really want. Things that need improvement. Just like with all technology, there are a lot of issues. I know that these companies are hopefully, working quickly to resolve those. Specifically with one of the platforms, we have a lot of problems in peak times where it's just freezing or it's double ringing orders. We're remaking an order twice. It's getting picked up once, and then we're just kind of holding the bag, as the saying goes. And that's a problem. Every time we have to throw away a pizza, it's just money in the trash. Or even worse, what happens is that customers, when something goes wrong with a third-party delivery order, they're not mad at Grubhub, and they're not mad at Postmates or whoever, they're mad at you. And that's really hard, that's hard to deal with. But I will say, on the other side of that, even just being a person who uses those apps, I feel like we are just, from the customer standpoint, accepting that the quality is not going to be as good if I went to go pick it up myself. And I'm accepting the fact that I thought it was going to be here 20 minutes ago, but 20 more minutes, no big deal. And I guess that's just part of it. One of my friends that's here today, I've been kind of polling everyone around me saying, what do you use? What do you like? What do you not like? And we all kind of have the same consensus that the convenience of the app is the reason that we'll continue to use it even if we got pissed off. So that's, I guess, part of the game. Integration was one of the things I had listed on here, which sounds like somebody's already working on that. When an order comes in on the tablet, then your staff person has to re-ring the order in. There's no way for us to communicate with the customer if there was a problem with the order, or we ran out of something, we didn't have something. It also invites more room for mistakes because now you've got a person punching in the order that wasn't just the customer, and maybe they keyed the wrong thing. Maybe they forgot to ring in the ranch that 8-year-old won't eat pizza without, and that's a problem. I'm looking forward to giving that service a try and see how it works with our POS system. It also, while they're doing that, pulls them away from handling the guests who are doing kind of the walk-in ordering and stuff as well. Access to the data, I mentioned that earlier. I actually almost got in an argument with one of our directors of operations about the dashboard for Postmates because I was like, there's got to be more information on here. This is it. This is all we get. It was just, here's what people like to order, and it's up by this. It was, again, very similar to the summary that I just showed you. Postmates actually doesn't even show the customer name, I don't think, where DoorDash does. First name and initial. Again, where are they ordering from? That would really help me plan where to put my next Easy E Slice shop. I know that. So that would be really nice. I've been listening to quite a few just interviews, podcasts, everything, speaking about third-party delivery, and everyone's saying the same thing. So hopefully the pressure of that will cause them to start sharing some more information that could be helpful for us. I'm convinced that the future of restaurants is going to be highly impacted by third-party delivery services. It already is. While I was doing research for this project, for this presentation, I had to turn back to this to make sure I say the correct number. It's been growing 30 to 40% every year. And last year for 2018, the total revenue was $13 billion. Make sure I saw the zeros on that. And some estimations are saying the revenues will be in excess of $365 billion by 2030. That's 11 years away. That is just mind-boggling, staggering, and I couldn't believe that. And it made me start thinking about all of my restaurants. How do we capture that? Even with the ramen shop, like I mentioned earlier, we don't do to-go service there. We wanted our ramen to be, fresh at the table. So no one likes the soggy noodle, but apparently some people don't care that the noodles are soggy and want it anyway. But it's just untapped sales for us, and we're rethinking that on our end. And again, like I mentioned, even with the building of our new restaurant that's not in Oklahoma City, we're daily having conversations about how do we set this up for success for third-party delivery because it is so important. I do think that there are some restaurant concepts that are not meant for this. Fine dining will always have its place. One of my favorite steakhouses used to be on one of these apps, and then they just said it wasn't for them, and you might find that it's not for you, for whatever reason that may be. But in the world of fast food and fast casual, and everybody here today, especially with pizza, it's just inevitable. I think when we are building, we're always taking that into consideration. Looking at ourselves, saying, how can we be faster? And what's our ideal footprint to maximize volume, functionality, and efficiency? Eazy-E is operated out of a 1,400 square foot old convenience store, and it did 1.2 million in to-go food last year. That just shows me, I say that to tell you, that's the amount of sales we were just missing, that were walking out the door, the phone calls that we weren't taking, or the orders that we were turning away, and it's unbelievable. I think it's really important. I am moving forward at our concepts, especially for the pizza places. Definitely going to make sure that that's part of everything we do. The best advice I can offer you is to gather as much information as you can from other operators and concepts similar to your own, size, locations, etc. Take the time to analyze your own data as well as to decide if third-party delivery is worth it for you. If you decide that it is not, do not settle for if you decide that it is, do not settle for the entry profit-sharing rates. Use the weight of your brand and negotiate lower rates. Use multiple third-party delivery services if you are able to reach the maximum number of customers that you can. And after a period of time using multiple apps, reach out to the third-party delivery service you'd like to use and consider an exclusive agreement, which may help decrease your rate. That's all I got to say about that. And if you guys have any questions, I want to do my best to answer them.
Also, are you able to choose the menu that you have to offer for the delivery system, or is it your whole menu?
Yeah, so go ahead.
And then the third question is, how do you handle the negative reviews?
Yeah. Okay, I might have to have you repeat those step by step, but the first one was about if they're late.
Yes.
What I'd like to do is refire the pizza for the customer, but I can't do that. So we let them take it. There's not really a way for us to communicate to the customer directly. Although Uber Eats told me that there's some way that you can contact them with their phone number. I haven't experienced that, but that's what I was told. DoorDash does offer the ability to blacklist, ban a driver. If you have someone who's consistently showing up late or not doing a good job of taking care of what they're supposed to be doing, you can make sure that they don't deliver for you anymore. But honestly, the answer is we're just letting them take the pie. That's unfortunate because, again, I want the quality to be here. But the other side of that is that the customer seems to be okay with that. The other thing that we are looking into is actually some reheating instructions to send with the boxes. So if it does get there and it's not quite as hot as they'd like for it to be, that they're able to do that in the way that we feel like would be best for the quality of the pie, which is nice. Could you repeat what was the second part of your question?
Can you choose your menu that you have for them to offer?
Yes. It doesn't have to be your whole menu. You can set it to be whatever you want. I was speaking about that a little bit earlier about customizing your menu to make sure that it works for you. So you could definitely do that. And then what was the last part?
What do you do about the negative feedback?
Negative feedback. I cry. No, I don't cry sometimes. It's kind of like Yelp. I hate, but also I use. We try to take the feedback and just do better, the best that we can on our end. I was talking a little bit earlier about the packaging for the items. I've been really starting to think okay, it's going to be 40 minutes before this person gets this pizza. What can we do on our end as far as how we're packaging it, or maybe some of the functionality that we're doing to try to give the guests a better experience, even though it's going to be 40 minutes before this pizza gets here. So that might be something to take into consideration as well. There's not really a way to get to people. For us, we just hope that they've had a good experience in the beginning. The other thing I have been considering, I'm still figuring this out as I'm even speaking right now, is to send some literature in the to-go bags. You can do that. If you had a problem with your pie, call it, leave us a review, let us know, give us a chance to make it right. That might be a good way to reach some customers as well. Can we start doing that? Okay.
We need a sticker.
You got a sticker?
We need a sticker that says, please reach out to us. That's just a third party.
Yeah.
Right back to us.
Awesome. Sticker. Okay. I got.
One thing, is going back to the not contacting, having contact with the customers themselves. My company we don't use any tablets or third-party apps, but the customers use them anyway. So they order through like a company called Favor.
Yeah.
Or DoorDash or whatnot. And they have zero accountability, virtually. They screw up your order placing it. Sometimes they'll call on the phone. We try to tell them, no, you need to come in the store and order it. We need to know that you ordered it.
Do you want them to be using those to be using those services? The customer, have you contacted those services and said stop?
We tried at one point because they kept screwing up orders.
Yeah.
Wouldn't show up sometimes. And then we get the phone call.
Sure.
Where the hell's my order? We never got your order. It wasn't placed.
We dealt with something similar. What's your question?
Well, basically, signing up with the app, I guess, might alleviate some of that.
Yes.
But
I think it could help drive your customers just through that one app that you are controlling,
Right.
or two apps that you are working with. So
some of the time these drivers will go online and order through our website, representing themselves. It'll say, favorite driver, whatever number, no information about the customer.
yeah,
They don't get their pie. Hey, where's Denise's order? They ordered an hour and a half ago. Again, we never got that.
yeah. Sounds like maybe the best thing, like you just solved your own problem, which is just try to sign up for one. There's no contract. Just try it out and see how it works for you, and maybe that'll alleviate some of those issues that you're having. When we first started, we had to tell some people, actually before we actually signed up with any of these services, we told them we were getting orders like that. It was not a good situation for us, so we called and said, stop offering our food. We're not working with you. So you might even try that if you need to.
The other part of that is it affects the employees because, you get more business and whatnot. But from an owner's standpoint, it's great. More business, keep bringing it in.
But no tipping.
No tipping.
Yeah, I meant to speak about that and I forgot. You reminded me.
Drivers are losing money.
Right.
If it's a big catering order that have delivery of it, we can take it ourselves.
Yeah.
But we'll get a $200 order. Everybody busts their ass making it. And they get a commission. They get a tip. We get the sale. But our employees get still.
Right. We've dealt with that. We've spoken about that a lot. And we really haven't come up with a great solution yet, other than it's kind of like when you wait tables. Sometimes you get bad tips. But hopefully the good tips outweigh the bad tips. And that percentage probably comes out to be about the same. Sir, you had a question?
Yes. Did you say that you did not change your pricing from in-store versus what you put out on the third party?
I didn't do that. We were already doing to go out of our shop, and so we already had the disposables and everything built into our menu pricing. There are some restaurants that will add fees. And I had seen it recently on somewhere in Oklahoma City that it let me know that before I even ordered. It said, this restaurant adds other fees on top of this, just so you know. And if you want it, I guess you ordered it anyway. But we haven't added any fees and hope to not do that. It seems to kind of maybe scare the guest away. Like I just mentioned, I don't even think I ordered from that restaurant, but I noticed that they had that on there. So.
How do you store your pizzas post-cooking? Do you put it in a warmer, or is it just sit without your pizza?
Yeah, we actually have 2 warmers right now. We go ahead and box the pies are labeled, and then we're just sticking them on a warming cabinet. It's actually, we're not able to adjust our temperature on ours. 200 is the right way to do it. Do you have a door on yours? Ours is actually like a shelving system that has heated shelves. Because we usually are pretty, grabbing stuff pretty quickly. So we're like opening the door and we didn't have a lot of space. That's the way to do it? I'll definitely have to think about that. Sure. Sir? We're just having it be on the phone right now. Last year when I came to the expo, there's a hell of a lot more technology out here now. Hopefully we'll learn some more about doing that differently.
We actually use channel now, and it actually drives most of our business, which is people are picking up orders, but they're doing it digitally and credit card information on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
They do work with Chally as well, so the order goes right into the system of the Chally side.
Okay.
We found that to be it's the majority of our to-go business.
I told the Chally guys earlier if they could figure out how to help us not have to take any phone calls anymore, that would be their next main source of.
There's about 3 to 5 minutes delay.
What's that?
Channel now is the one that gives you all the customer information, not just the total of items that have been ordered.
Yeah.
You'll have email addresses and phone numbers. You can have direct contact through the app or through the pad right to the restaurant. That's the one we can do.
Okay. That would be super helpful, I imagine. See, I'm learning too. So,
Their competitor is Watermark, and they're pretty good too.
what's it called?
Watermark is their
Order Mark? I'll have to check that one out. There's a guy behind you who's got his hand up.
You said earlier you had 1.4 million in sales out of 1,400 square feet, $1,000 a square foot. It's really good. But you weren't happy with the design. Do you wish you had more room, or you just better architecture? Do you need more than 1,400 square feet?
We need more space for ovens. And
Do you need more than 1,400?
I think so. We've been looking at kind of what our layout probably needs to be closer to 2,000 to really have enough dry storage space. We don't quite have enough of that. The oven situation, the make line. I mean, almost every restaurant we've ever built has actually gone into a building that was something else. Empire, the first Empire, was an old laundromat. It was just like a shotgun, 1,900 square foot space. Easy E, as I mentioned, was an old convenience store, so we were kind of stuck with what we could get. And we just had to get in there and figure out how do we make this work. Like the way our make line is set up at Easy E is not super efficient. It's the most efficient that we can make it with the space that we have. But I think our ideal footprint could be something more like 2,000 square feet. Yeah, so. Sure. Okay. Thank you. Sir? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, for me it was because the way that we added it, we didn't really have to add any staff. We might have had to add a window person, but let's say they're making like, even on the high end, $10 an hour maybe to work the window plus tips. They were already there, and I would just kind of justify that going, well, we just made, today our sales were $1,000 and that person cost me $80. To me, it was worth it when I really looked at it like that. Because as I mentioned earlier, our fixed costs are fixed for a reason. They're the same no matter what. I think that there could be. Honestly, we're still kind of digging into all that data, and it's the third-party sales keep growing. It is. It really is. And I think if you can negotiate your rate down to something just as low as you can get it, and then go back and try to renegotiate it again later, just keep doing that and see how low you can get it down to make it work for you. Sir, why don't you stand up and tell them how you did that?
We found it successful to use them kind of against each other. You can let Postmates know that you're working with DoorDash and vice versa. And then it turns into kind of a competition between those two companies for your business. And to a point you had mentioned earlier, to where at some point, if your business is successful enough through their platforms, they will negotiate a very low rate if you go exclusive with them. So it kind of turns into kind of that company versus company competition for your own business. But just being open and giving them information of what you received from another company, they'll take that and they'll try to use that to open up those negotiation talks with you.
And even if it's 1 point, it's still a point. And when you're talking about the amount of money we're speaking about here, it adds up quickly. Sir?
Did you ever consider doing a separate menu to be able to understand the increased market differences, what they bring in, even inclusive of price adjustment?
I'm not sure I quite understand.
Well, okay, say whole pies versus slices,
Uh-huh.
or you talk ramen compared to something else you might sell just for the third party. So you can price adjust what they are charging.
I had not considered that before, but that's a really interesting thought. Have you done that?
No, actually, I was hoping you would help.
Yeah. Okay, well, give my contact info and let's figure it out together. How about that? Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. Yeah, we did. I was taking them. We would send managers with orders sometimes. Not anywhere close to how many we're sending out now. I mean, like 100th of probably what we're sending out now. I think that our charge depends on the number of pies and the total dollar amount for the order. Our pies are on the expensive side. They're huge. They're like 20-inch pies. Some of them, I think our most expensive pizza is $28. Well, again, for us, if we were delivering it, I should have been a little bit more clear about that. We weren't delivering like one pizza. I apologize. We never have. We were only taking orders that were catering type size orders that were over a certain amount that were really worth us like saying, okay, we're going to take this $500 order to Dell or, another large company and do that. So I can't speak to that specifically. That was the DoorDash one. It said 58. And then how many do you think? Excuse me? Yeah, $250,000 or more. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You did the math for me there.
So, is there a delivery fee on that? So, if pizza's $20, it's at 23 or something, and then you pay. Is that what's coming into your bank account? Then you pay it?
Yeah. So the way that it works is that they in the breakdown they show you this. They have like the total sales, and then they've got taxes. And credit card fees that they're taking care of that are added. So it goes like 5,000 plus 500 of taxes and credit card fees. So now you're at 5,500. And then you see them back out their percentage underneath that under commission. And then they're showing you your net payout underneath that.
And they put a delivery fee in front for you. So, and it say like, let's talk about one order just to make it simple.
Mm-hmm.
An order is $20 for the pizza, $2 for the delivery, $3 for taxes.
Mm-hmm. That goes to the restaurant, or like they're tacking on a fee on our behalf or for them?
For you, and then you just pay them a percentage.
Oh, gotcha. I don't know. I hadn't considered that, so I hadn't really asked that question to anyone yet.
I could say that we're reasonable to that.
Yeah.
You charge 25, you can't have a delivery fee that's your delivery fee.
Right.
They have their delivery fee, then whatever you want to charge. You can do a Uber Eats. They want you to have a separate posted delivery menu. So if you wanted this, you could just increase your pricing and pass the cost on to the customer.
Yeah.
Let the customer decide if they want to pay a premium to not be good cash.
I'll be completely honest with you. In preparing for this, or trying to, I really was looking at our stuff, and I was like, we can do better. We just kind of, it was good enough. We're making money on it, but we're definitely, the margins for us, I think, can be improved upon by looking at some things like that. I hate to pass that to the customer, but I'm also not twisting their arm saying, you got to do it. If they want to do it, they do it. So it's up to them. Sir.
Have you done any of where they offer the customer less delivery fee, but you take on that cost? Or has any of them done promos? We have a hard time getting, if we're putting their logo all over the place to get these sales, but they do nothing. But I see other brands like Cheesecake Factory, their emails pop up.
Right. don't think that we've actually got any promotions on our behalf from them, but we also haven't probably asked that yet. In speaking to one of the booths earlier today, you know, they use that in their language on the website. They're telling you, yeah, you should, there's increased visibility and there's free marketing. We'll do promos for you and put you at the top and all this stuff. I haven't seen that.
Have you done the delivery thing where they charge you for more of the delivery and they charge the customer less?
No. Yeah, sorry, I don't have an answer to that one. Anybody else? Awesome. Oh, yeah. They'll control our what? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. I haven't honestly thought too much about that yet because right now it just kind of seems to be fine. But I should be considering that. And at that point, maybe you bring your delivery in-house. And honestly, even throughout this process of researching, looking at what we do have and going, is there a way to figure that out? I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Trying to have ways to make it more efficient, affordable. At the same time, it's like I'm giving something out. For you, it's more like you're gaining something.
Right.
Anything I get, it's fine. I'll pay the 30%. I'll bring it down more. For me, it's more like my existing people are ordering. I'm getting all that, all those sales minus, let's say my driver's cost me 50%. So why would I pay 30 for that? Why would I pay?
I think you're in a unique position to decide that for yourself. We weren't there because we didn't have our own drivers and we didn't even know how to go about that. So for us, we were just kind of playing with it to see if it works. And you might, again, you can stop at any time. You could test it out, see if it works for you. Maybe it adds something to what you're doing and maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, you know.
They take the pizza to their location. Do they put it in anything to keep it warm?
They're not, to my knowledge, they're not actually like given any kind of warming bags, but a lot of the people that we have seen are carrying bags for that. They are a little surprised when they show up for the first time, the box doesn't fit in their bag or maybe sometimes in their car, but, you know, they are doing that. I will say, I feel like they cared more. Postmates used to have a rating system for their drivers and all the information that I had found about this, and Postmates hasn't confirmed this for me yet, but I know that I don't rate my Postmate anymore. It looks like sometime last year they did away with that. And what that did was now tell the driver, drop it, be late, whatever, can't hurt you. And that was a little frustrating, but. What do you think? He said 15 to 20% probably. A lot of times we were joking with the DoorDash guys earlier because their drivers show up, sometimes they'll stand there for 20 minutes before the pie is ready. And you also can adjust your times within the app. If you are running slower, you can say, okay, we're quoting you 45 minutes or 20 minutes depending on what type of volume that we're in, and that is getting passed along to the customer through the app, so they're getting a correct expectation on their time. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I gotcha. Sure. Mm. Yeah, and also on that with the drivers too, I think I mentioned earlier, that's the one delivery company that you can actually just say, we don't want this driver to deliver for us anymore. So I guess if they don't obey your rules, you just kick them out. There's always somebody else out there waiting to take it probably. So that's really interesting. Thanks.
I'm not sure if you said it before. What percentage of your takeout sales are done by third-party delivery?
20 to 25%.
How is that growing from your other? Like, is that growing faster than your non-third-party or about the same?
Yeah, we kind of sat there and broke it down for the Slice Shop the other day, just looking at what is actual like dine-in type walk-in business, and that was still outweighing the third party by quite a bit for us. Pickup orders, people coming to pick it up. So 20 to 25% is how much it is right now. And then I'm sorry, you asked if it had grown.
How is it like, so off your total takeout business, is third party becoming a bigger share of that? Like, are they bringing you more business, or you're already?
I can tell you just off the top of my head, so like every week the managers forward me kind of the summary reports. And I can remember when Postmates was looking like 2,000 a week, 2,200 a week, then it went to 3,000 a week. Sometimes it's 4,000 a week. And so we're seeing that. So I definitely think it will start taking over some more of our regular sales, and we might make a different decision then. I don't know yet. I also found it interesting. We were playing around the other day, and I guess is it called a widget? What is that called? The little link. So DoorDash, Postmates, Uber, they have like the little, you can put it on your own website. And if people order from your website through Postmates, you actually pay a lesser fee to Postmates. So we've been trying to think of some creative ways to encourage people to do that. And I haven't come up with the answer yet, but that's something else that's kind of interesting to maybe think about. So, sir.
I have a question for the gentleman that said it's 15%. To deliver it yourself, you said it's 15%.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
You know that, or you're making up that number?
It's pretty close, but you got the times, some guys say it's lower, but they don't have insurance. I can't find without insurance. I can cover the drivers, so it depends on how many drivers you have, how many people you go to.
So on a busy night, how many drivers do you have? For how many stores? 25 drivers. How can that be? You're paying them a minimum wage?
We pay them a delivery charge. So there's certain ways of doing it. I had one store, I had 30 drivers and 300 deliveries a night. And I averaged about 10% of the drivers. That's why we want to figure out a better way, because we know that that's really a big part of we're paying money to these drivers and insurance and dealing with all that. It would be great. Turn this or that and the numbers.
Can't believe it's not
So they use their own cars out.
Yeah, their own cars.
They use their own cars.
You're not going to do that everywhere. Not here in the suburbs and houses.
Do you have a store currently, or stores?
Yes.
Do you?
Don't do any delivery other than third party.
Yeah. From what?
We do the math for our third, we place third party,
Sure.
and we do it on the back of the envelope.
We have a couple envelopes ourselves that has some scribbles.
What the actual insurance cost is, but
Sure.
we can't come up with a number that's better than our third party.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's equal without knowing who the hell's doing it.
The other scariest thing for me is just them hitting someone. Like, that's like my greatest fear, is it could ruin your brand. You know, I think if you kill someone, if you hit someone, your driver hits someone, unfortunately that stigma maybe follows you. So that's kind of been my scary in the back of my mind thing about delivery for a long time. So hope that never happens to anyone, but just if it did, so.
You might replace some of the cost, but you're also not able to get customers in the system. You know? So if you have a great customer base and you're not worried about losing customers, losing sales by doing it, then you might be really well.
And that's where it's worked out for us, because we did already have the brand, and it kind of was the place in Oklahoma City. And so we haven't seen any issues with that. I hope we don't. But when we go to a different city, maybe we will. I don't know.
Well, we think that the people that are ordering aren't able to drive.
I see. Yeah. Well, now Taco Bell and McDonald's, like the drive-through wasn't convenient enough, so we gotta.
I'm talking about is they're not in a condition to drive.
Oh, I see. What time are the orders coming in?
Late.
Okay, yeah, they can't drive. Yeah.
They're ordering 5 times more on the app than at the restaurant.
That's interesting. See, I wish I had all those. I wish I had all the data.
Well, we don't have the data.
Yeah, but just looking at the times, yeah, it's a good hunch. I think we probably got a lot of those customers ourselves. I bet. So, cool. Are you done with me? All right. Thanks, guys and ladies. Appreciate it.